Anyway, we had the AG on Friday. I don't know if you guys saw that, but pretty feisty interview. He said something about sound bites with no substance here on the link, and then he proceeded to give us a bunch of sound bites. Kind of clapping back at Senator Frank Blas Jr. Good morning, Senator. Thanks for joining us.
Good morning. Good morning, everybody.
We're going to go ahead and play this story real quick, guys, just to give you a little context, if you will, to interview we had with the Attorney General on Friday morning right here on the link.
Attorney General Levin Camacho responding to questions and criticisms delivered on the link by Senator Frank Blas Jr. and Public Auditor B.J. Cruz. The pair asking if AG will act on audit findings relative to the OPA's hotel quarantine audit. Auditor Cruz finding $3 million in questioned costs, a possible conflict of interest with the main procurer, and a hotel. Cruz saying the first round of hotel quarantine procurement performed by the governor's former legal counsel and son-in-law, Hai Hyun, did not comply with local law. Meanwhile, Senator Blas jumping into the fray, penning several letters to the AG, asking if there will be any action taken on the audit findings. The senator saying the AG never wrote him back, but Camacho giving us the tea this morning on the link.
It's under active review, and it's disingenuous for anyone to say that we're ignoring any letters. I mean, we've been in contact with Senator Blas, and the OPA, he issued his findings. But it's absolutely not true that we're ignoring anyone or not doing anything. Unfortunately, we're living in a time where we elevate sound bites over substance, and talk radio is not really one where you're going to go into nuance, right? So our commitment has been to see through the noise, to make a decision based on law and evidence, and to not base our decision based on casting or strongly worded letters or people coming onto the show and bad-mouthing me.
Camacho to the auditor, stay in your lane.
The OPA, when it's like, okay, the OPA said something was wrong, therefore it's a crime, it's not that simple. And I just want to be very clear about that.
The AG says it's not that simple, and what makes it complicated is a recent Supreme Court of Guam ruling.
Basically saying the Organic Act vests the governor with ultimate authority over quarantine, which includes establishing quarantine facilities. And I know, Chris, you like to ask me, when do I ever disagree with the governor? This is one of those cases where we openly disagree with the governor, and we argue that Section 19605 was organic, and she won.
The AG flipping the script on his critics, saying they are the ones who are doing nothing.
The OPA and the legislature both have authority to take action, and neither of them are doing anything at this point other than sending letters.
AG Camacho going in deeper on the auditor, saying he needs to be consistent, citing an earlier link interview with Cruz.
His job is to be the procurement police, and he went on and he debarred a vendor, and that was a very big thing, and he took shots at me in his decision, and it seemed to be selective when he's going to kind of put on his police procurement hat and when he's going to kind of kick the can down the road or pass the buck.
For Guam's News Network, Chris Barnett reports.
Situation where we don't necessarily agree on something.
Sounds like more of an interview that BJ should respond to.
All I can picture now is BJ being a procurement cop for Halloween.
I asked him if he had a uniform.
So I guess your reaction there, Senator?
Well, I'm glad that we finally heard from him in one form or another. I don't take that I've gotten one phone call saying that it's still being reviewed as constant communication with my office. That said, Chris, I still hold to my stance that there is enough information provided in the auditor report that warrants some legal action to be taken by the Attorney General of Guam, who is the chief, legal officer on this island. Neither I nor the Office of the Public Auditor right now have that ability to take that, that information and take it to the next step, next level. Despite being said that we have some type of power to be able to do this. The legislature doesn't. We are the policy-making branch of the government. We're not the enforcement branch of the government. So but so I thank him for finally, albeit he had more of the conversation with you than he's ever had with me on this conversation. So we'll see now where it goes from there. I will not stop in wanting to press him to be able to take legal action.
Let me ask you, Senator. There was a theme that he kind of brought up. He said, "Oh, Chris, you like to talk about when do I ever disagree with the governor?" But I found it a little ironic because this is a kind of a situation where you'd maybe want to see a response that was a little more independent sounding, because it almost seemed like he was a little defensive.
And it seemed, a little defensive. And, again, if I don't know whether it was spur of the moment or, whether or not it was, he may have wanted to basically retract that statement because there is an expectation of independence, if you will, from all influences of the government because of the responsibility that he has. There is nobody else within the government of Guam with that capacity, the authority, and basically the edict to work, and pursue cases such as this. So we'll see.
One of the other things, though, that you had mentioned was another route that could possibly be taken with an oversight hearing. I'm not sure if we're talking about an oversight hearing with the Public Accountability Committee or if you were talking about the Procurement Committee. We know that Senator Sabina held an oversight hearing last year, but for the Committee on Public Accountability, the vice chair is Senator Amanda Shelton and Senator Mary Torres for Public Accountability. Have you had any conversations with either of them to possibly hold an oversight hearing?
Not at this point. Again, we're still looking at the different opportunities and the possibilities, but at the end of the day, what really matters is, what can be pursued. While we can, there can be an oversight, with the Office of the Government and the procurement entities, to hear their side of the story, or whether it could be a roundtable with the Office of the Public Auditor, to basically explain or provide more information, or the information, that he can with regard to this procurement. What is it going to mean at the end of the day? There is an allegation of violation of law, which, in an oversight or in a roundtable discussion to be held by the legislature, that's it. We don't have that authority to be able to enforce, and to prosecute public law. And what this is a violation of public, is an alleged violation of public law. And this is clearly in the court of the Attorney General. And so we can't have those discussions. But Bree and Chris, Jason, you've seen many of them for good or for bad. But again, what can be done at the end of the day? Do we need to, when you conduct oversights with the legislation or end, it ultimately would result in another law that's created. It's not necessary at this point. The law was pretty clear. This is something that needs to address the violation of the law, not so that we can address an issue, so that we can either amend the current law or create new statute. That's not what I think needs to happen now. So, would appreciate that now that there's more action on his part in as far as the review. I welcome an opportunity to be able to speak with him, along with the public auditor. And but again, that's what my role is here is I took a public auditor report that alleges these violations, and I passed it on to the Attorney General's office, who is charged with that responsibility of taking legal action should there be, again, something that's prosecutable.
Hi, day.
Okay, it's Monday morning.
I know.
You know,
I'm doing my part, though. I'm trying to bring you guys together one way or another.
I appreciate it. Thank you. Again, is if he gives me a call and or he says he'd like to be able to meet so that we can discuss this further. I would very much be obliged to do so. Again, Chris, it's that's not my role to take this to the next level. That's the role of the Attorney General, not mine.
So when you got that phone call, what was it? Just like, yeah, thanks, I got the letter? Was that pretty much it? Or?
And it wasn't even from him.
Oh.
It was from one of his staffers who called me and said that, as a matter of fact, it wasn't for that matter. It was for other matters. And so then, it was what of my letter. He goes, oh yes, sir. We are the Attorney General is actively looking into it, and there has been no decision made. And so my next question was, and we are going to make this decision when? And it's like, well, sir, we'll call you. We'll keep in contact with you when we made that decision. And again, I guess calling me is through you guys.
Let me ask you though, Senator, because it appears since the AG's office advised the governor's son-in-law and former legal counsel on this issue, for the Attorney General to review it, do you think that presents a conflict of interest for him to even review it to determine if it should be passed on to maybe some type of independent attorney or investigator or whatever the process is? Because I mean, I really don't know the legal procedures necessary for that. However, I do think that from common sense and that if there is perceived to be a conflict, whether it be because of a relationship you have with one of the individuals mentioned in the report, or whether because you took an active part of in the process, there is the opportunity for that office to be able to appoint an independent attorney to act on their behalf, but independent of the influence of that office to be able to move forward. But see, that's already in statute, already provided in his authority. That's nowhere provided in mine, nor is it provided in the Office of the Public Auditor. And going back to do we want to give those powers outside of the Attorney General to somebody else? That's where, in my role, in the oversight of the roundtable, that could occur, but it does not address the alleged violations, or the violations as alleged in the OPA report. So.
I had a question about something else, and that was, it's also related to a letter that you had written to the governor regarding delaying the implementation of her mandatory vaccinations. I asked for a response, but I didn't get one. But have you received anything? I know today is the deadline
Well,
for
I
businesses.
have not gotten a direct response yet, but I am pleased to see that at least, obviously, my wife works in the Department of Education, and so what has been shared was that there has been a email, and some guidance to the administrators, because as was mentioned by John Fernandez last week, they don't have the equipment necessary to conduct or to implement the mandate at this time. So things have been put on hold. At least in as far as the Department of Education, I've heard as well over the weekend from other government employees or from other employees of government entities where they're experiencing the same issue. Obviously, there's the equipment and the personnel necessary to be able to effectually carry out this order, not necessarily in place. So there's an assumption or there's a feeling that in many cases there's going to be that postponement, and then that's the gist of the letter that I wrote to the governor. In that there are some concerns, late in the game, the 11th hour when you're granted that this thing, that this mandate, was talked about, at least about a month ago. It was a process that was too slow to be able to make sure you fully implemented it today. That's what is being seen. I'm not going to say it through the entire, government of Guam, but there have been pockets of, agencies and supervisors and employees who are very much concerned of how effective, how ready they are to be able to implement it. And so, to err on the side of caution, they've said, let's hold back a little bit. Now, after this, my conversation with you is I'm going to go turn around and try to find where these places are at and force people to move. I don't know. I'm just hoping that, whether or not they're going to give me the credit, really doesn't matter to me. What it matters at the end of the day is that whether if you're going to affect something in a mandate and it's going to affect the lives of not just the unvaccinated, but the vaccinated, and the services that government of Guam provide, and you're not ready for it, hold back on it. Hold back on it, and use this as the opportunity to address those concerns. Amongst your lack of equipment and lack of personnel to be able to conduct the testing and whatnot.
Thank you, Senator. You good?
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah.
Good luck in session.
Yeah. Good morning and good luck.
Thank you, guys, and you guys have a wonderful day. Okay.
Thank you.
Take care.
Senator Frank Blas Jr. We're going to take a quick break and coming back with the Chief of Police next, right here on the link. Good morning.
We know you're tired of hearing about COVID-19. Some of you are probably wondering whether this is ever going to end. However long it takes, we all have to do our part, including our children, to hold the line. You can protect yourself and your family by getting vaccinated.
And if you're